tones, different styles. And there are a few things that I was thinking of that kind of remind me of that. One of them is the Fargo TV show. The Fargo TV show is really good at that, where each season is basically its own self-contained story, but there's these sort of like underlying pieces that keep it feeling like the same world. But each season very much has its own aesthetic and style. It's its own painting. It's its own, but it still feels unified as that series, as that story. I'm trying to think of other things that could maybe be like that. Some other things. Like, I can't say The Legend of Zelda, because The Legend of Zelda is always like throwing itself in all kinds of different art directions and things like that. Each one really is just like its own self-contained thing. I can't really even compare it to how, Resident Evil does. With having these very clear, like, so another thing that kind of causes it is when you have, I'm trying to think of what makes it what it is, what I'm looking for. It kind of happens when you have a specific set of, like, okay, so this is what each one has, and then you find different explanations for each of them. So like, you look at 7, 8, and 9, right? Okay, so let me go through. 7, 8. Well, let me throw 4 in there as well. 4, 7, 8, 9. What do you have? You have what's causing the problem. There's some sort of bio thing that's causing the problem. So one of them, you have, icky parasites. And another one, you have mushrooms. And another one, you got your classic virus. And the other one, like, 8 also introduces, like, parasite inserted into body type stuff. It's like a whole thing. It's got its own spin on it. They each have, like, what causes the the problem, the creatures, and then it'll have something like, okay, how does each game handle how things fall apart? Oh, actually, that reminded me of something else I wanted to mention. But I'll hold that. So how does each game handle things falling apart? So in 4, in Resident Evil 4, a lot of the way things that get destroyed are more tactile. Chainsaws, hooks, blades, guns, getting kicked, blasted. There's more of a tactile feel to the way things break. Everything feels kind of like dry and brittle. Or it's just like, it's ready to just get, like, struck with something. It feels, that's the best way. Like, in Resident Evil 4, things feel like withered. Things are just ready to break. Whereas in Resident Evil 7, how do things fall apart? In Resident Evil 7, things fall apart through biodegradation, through just decay, natural decay, and things that decompose other things. It has a very organic feel to it. It's not dry and brittle. It's very saturated and moist and squishy. It's all ready to just slide off and. And then Resident Evil 8, how do things fall apart? Well, in Resident Evil 8, things are broken and fall apart by being torn up, by being slashed, burned, stabbed, what have you. And then Resident Evil 9, how do things get broken and things like that? It's in Resident Evil 9, it's more noir-esque, but it also has more of that like classic horror-y. Not like I no, because classic horror is more like, those old novels. When I say classic horror, I mean more like American horror. Classic American horror is more so what I mean with Resident Evil 9. It's got this noir-esque finish to it. Classic American horror. It's more about just like the fear of having these objects placed near you, these weapons. It's more medical, is a good way I would put it with Resident Evil 9. So there's a lot more of like piercing, stabbing, puncturing. There's a specific feel, and the best way I could put with Resident, and this actually leads in, Resident Evil 9 has a lot more emphasis on like fluid, on it's not the same as like, it's not the same as 7. 7 has like biodegradation and saturation, whereas 9 is more medical and like the sudden damage of a bullet or a sharp object getting stabbed through. And another thing that Resident Evil 9 I noticed does a lot is Resident Evil 9's environments are really built to contrast between entering and them just, how do I word this? Resident Evil 9's environments are built to highlight when blood gets sprayed all over them. That's the best way I could put with Resident Evil 9's environments. They're made to be so like pristine and classical and clean. It emphasizes the texture of the wood and the stone and the walls and all that. Only for you to get into a fight with something and for there just to be blood sprayed all over it. And now there's just like this huge, red blast all over the wall or on the floor. It's so you have 4, which is more like withered and dry and brittle, ready to just break at any second. And then you have 7, which is more about like biodegradation and decay and more organic and quote unquote natural type processes. And then you have 8 with its more like tooth, bone, nail, metal, piercing, slashing, more like close range, knives, hooks and things like, not in the same way as 4. So let me rephrase that. Fangs, claws, nails, spikes, that's more of 8's thing. It's more bestial, I could put it. More beast-like, more based on being animalistic, biting, slashing, clawing, tearing, that kind of thing. And then you get to 9, and it's much more, when it has a lot more of an emphasis on that feel of just how would I put it? The way things break. It's a tough one to put exactly into words, because it's not so much about it as the previous ones, but it's more so about seeing the way the violence then, interacts with the environment itself. Yeah, that would be a good way to, more so about how the environment is affected and coated in the violence, painted in the violence. But okay, here's a good way. In Resident Evil 9, things are broken in very medical ways. It's a blow to an artery, a shot through like a body part. It's more focused on like the destruction of structure, whether the structure is a body or the structure is a building, or things that are like clean and artificial and pristine getting struck with like organic material and blood and things like that. So a lot of the way things break in RE9 is a lot more, it's a lot more of just like when things get hit, it's in like an artery. It's a needle, a hypodermic needle, going through a specific spot. It's a sharp object through. It reminds me again, like very noir-esque. It almost reminds me of like The Man Who Wasn't There, that Coen Brothers film. The death of the detective is, he's the main character is a barber, and he uses like a knife to get the corrupt detective in the neck, and then he bleeds out. It has that kind of feel to it, where it's, rather than the biodegradation of a whole environment necessarily, or burning, scraping, animalistic slashing, or things being dry and brittle. It's more about like these sharp, concise, articulated like medical movements that aren't necessarily widespread, but are going to pierce through and break something on a smaller level, which is going to sort of spread to everything else. Yeah. That's I think that's how I can put it for now. I'm sure one day I'll be able to articulate a little better, especially after I watch a little more of Resident Evil 9. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on that. But I know this may sound this may sound a complete 180 from Resident Evil 9, but one thing I really imagined that for is, why do we have eyes? That idea that I had. I very much imagine why do we have eyes having like different series, if that makes sense. I'm sure it does. But, like there would be series 1 with Melody, Cat, Pancake, and that would have its own feel, its own aesthetic to it, its own material associated with it, its own sort of tone, structure, and then the way certain things play out, what causes them, like I was talking about with Resident Evil, the archetypes that get filled in, that then keep it what it is, but also help it to get explored in a new direction with each one. So series 1 of Why Do We Have Eyes would have its own archetypes, its own colors associated with it, its own what causes things, what causes them to play out, how they play out, that kind of thing. And then series 2 might have new characters, and then how, the archetypes are there, but they get altered with different material, they get explored in slightly different ways, they have different effects, things like that. I've been thinking about that, yeah. One thing I really... Now I'm just going to talk about getting off of aesthetics, narrative aesthetics, visual aesthetics, getting off of that for a second, I really want to talk about Resident Evil 9. That is a very well structured game. I realized how much Luigi's Mansion takes from Resident Evil when I saw Resident Evil 9. Yeah. But, so, like in Resident Evil, here's one thing that really, really got me, and I thought of a couple things. One is, I like how Resident Evil 9 shows you if you entered a room with a key item. I like how it shows you, not necessarily a key item, but like a collectible, like the antique coins. And I thought about this yesterday. And I liked how it showed you on the map where the antique coin was on the map, even if you missed it. And I realized it's not to make it easier on the player. It's that it's for the horror. The game knows that you want the antique coins. So it shows you that you missed an antique coin. And it knows that you're now going to have to go through all of the creatures and the monsters in order to go get it. So the game is purposely messing with you. It's literally baiting you with a carrot, so that all the monsters and creatures and all the like, horrors you just went through, are you willing to go through? It's like, oh, but you missed this. And it's like, what? That's on the complete other side. And it's like, oh, but if you got one more, you could get this upgrade. And now you're just sitting there weighing to yourself like, well, shoot. I'm going to have to navigate if I want this. I don't know when the next one is going to be. Oh. I'm going to have to walk through all of... Oh. And you just have that dawning realization of just like, oh, this is back there. It's almost Metroidvania-like. Almost Metroidvania-like. But I liked that sort of impetus, that idea behind, in some games it's like, yeah, we're not going to show it. You have to find it yourself or remember where it was and things like that. And I was thinking to myself like, oh, that's nice. They showed you on the map that the thing is there, making it nice and easy. And then I thought to myself like, wait a minute, no, they're not making it nice and easy. They're doing that on purpose. They're doing this purposefully. They're teasing you. They're mocking you. They're telling you, if you want this, you're going to have to walk back and survive everything you just ran through to go grab it. You're going to have to do it all again. You're going to have to get through all those things that just tried to grab at you, bite you, whatever. Go ahead. You don't need to go get it, but you want it. And we know you want it. Yeah. And another thing that I really, really liked the concept of is the Requiem gun. And of course, it's called Requiem not just because it's the name of the game, but also Requiem. A Requiem is a death. It's a composition made for a funeral. So the joke is that it's a one-hit kill hand cannon. So it it is their Requiem. Whatever it shoots, it's their Requiem. Yeah, that's clever. But anyway, I like the concept of having that one-shot item to give you one chance. You get one get-out-of-jail-free card until you can find a spot to reload it. I really like that concept for gameplay. Just like, I think the closest thing I can think of that's kind of similar to it is the one-hit obliterator in the DLC in Breath of the Wild, but it's not really. It's not quite the same, really. But just the idea of this very close quarters horror game, and they give you I love that idea of an item that's like, You get one shot. If things are going wrong, you have to balance whether you want to use this one hit destroy item to quickly get out, and you don't know when you're going to get it again. You don't know when something might pop up. You know, it's yes, it's powerful, but you get one. You get one chance to use it, one escape, and then you're out of it. So, decide. Be careful. When are you going to use it? You have it here. It's a quick problem eraser. It'll erase your problems. This time. You didn't plan it out so well. Things are taking a turn for the worse. Oh, well, that's it. What are you going to do now? Yeah. So that was pretty much my thoughts on that. There was one last thing I wanted to talk about. And it's completely unrelated. It is completely unrelated to everything else I was talking about. Which is, have you ever had a dream where in the dream, all of a sudden you get like really set on doing something? Like it's a thing where it's like, whoa, I finally realized how to do this. I can do this. And suddenly it's like you have clarity on how to do something. And then throughout the whole dream, and as you're sleeping, you're saying, yeah, I can do it. When I wake up, I'm going to do this. And then you suddenly start to realize what it is you're suddenly getting clarity to do. What it is you're doing in the dream. And it's just like, wait a minute. This is completely useless in real life. Wait a minute. Oh. Like, I have sudden clarity, mental clarity, and I suddenly have, motivation, and while I'm dreaming to do this thing. But, and then you go through, and it's like, wait a minute. Actually, no, this is not anything I would want to do in real life. Like, hold on a sec. Oh, that's what this is? Oh, no, I don't really want to do that. Completely. This isn't what I was dreaming of, but mine was pretty practical. It had something to do, but then I realized it was like, why would I ever do that? But in terms of its usefulness, it was it's like getting into a dream and being like, yeah, I can find a way to melt a lollipop and stick it to a piece of paper. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I'm so motivated. A sudden clarity. I've solved the problem. And then you think about what the actual problem in the dream and what the actual problem in the dream is. It's like, oh, wait. Why would I... Oh. So, the problem I was dreaming about, it had, it was in the same subject as the things I'm interested in, but in terms of what it actually was that I had sudden clarity and moment of like, I can do this, and then it was like a pretty useless side thing that had nothing really to do with any. And it's like, no, literally, there's no reason to do that. I don't know why I would ever do this. And then I woke up and then I was like, okay, well, I wish it was over something useful and not just a random experiment side tangent. I don't even actually have anything physically available that would even allow me to do that, but at least I have clarity that I could if that ever happened. Anyway, so I'll stop here and I'll draw up my thumbnail and post for today. That's it.